Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for being unsympathetic to my mother, and telling her she made her own bed? So some background, I'm the middle of 3 siblings. I have an older sister Emma and a younger brother Sam, fake names. Our father died when Sam was a baby, and our mum remarried very quickly, in hindsight, so quickly that Emma and I now suspect she was seeing the new guy before Dad passed, to be honest. Stepdad is not a great dude. Don't get me wrong, there are worse people out there, but he isn't a nice man. Doesn't like kids much, and made it known to us. For some reason, he particularly took issue with Sam. My working theory is that it's because Sam looks most like Dad, and Stepdad is the type of dude who doesn't like being reminded that his wife had a life before him. Things got really bad between Sam and Stepdad after Emma and I had both moved out, which resulted in Sam lashing out a bit. It really wasn't, "Oh my god, this kid is out of control" stuff. He mostly just started getting in trouble for being cheeky to teachers, and he once got brought home in a police car, because he and his friends were drinking in the park, though he didn't get charged or even cautioned. However, Mum and Stepdad decided this warranted not wanting him under their roof anymore, and kicked him out literally the day after his 18th birthday. He lived with me for a while, then Emma, who is an estate agent, helped him get his own place sorted. Though Sam made it plain he no longer wanted a relationship with Stepdad, he tried to reach out to Mum several times for a while, but was always met with hostility or radio silence, so he gave up. They now haven't spoken in 5 years. Cut to now, and the problem: Stepdad passed away in November and it was hard on Mum, which I understand and sympathize with. However, she took his death as an opportunity to reach out to Sam again. He basically told her that she had her chance to salvage their relationship, and she chose not to take it, so he's no longer interested in having one with her. Obviously she was upset by this, and she reached out to me to see if I could talk him round. I kinda awkwardly told her, "Sorry, but no. He's right. He put effort in years ago, and you ignored it. You've made your own bed on this one." She got upset and started crying. I guess she went to Emma next because she asked me what was going on. When I explained, she said she saw where I was coming from, but I was too harsh, and Sam was being pretty stubborn. I don't know. I feel bad for making my mom cry, and I understand kicking Sam out was maybe my stepdad's influence, but I was just trying to be honest. Was I the a-hole in the process? Edit: apparently, I have to include the word a-hole for this conflict to be valid. So yeah, Mum and Emma thought I was being an a-hole when they called me harsh, and Sam stubborn. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Personally, I think you were being honest with your mom. She really did make her own bed. You don't owe her sympathy either. She wants her son back in her life once her husband is dead? What happens to this new relationship with her son if she marries again? Something tells me she wants a caretaker. She's probably getting old or needs someone to be the man in the house and do some chores. Or maybe even make company, until she finds another man to marry. Not the a-hole. Stay out of it. Sister 2. She got upset and started crying. I understand why she's upset because it's all very upsetting. Be that as it may, it's also all on her. Not the a-hole. Imagine how upset Sam must have been, when his own mother, his last living parent, chose her new husband over her son. She treated him like an adult the second he became an adult. She doesn't get to go back now. OP, you're not the a-hole. You would be if you tried to pressure him. Your sister is bridging on a-hole territory. This decision is up to Sam and Sam alone, not you or your sister. It's up to your mother to earn his love and trust back. If he doesn't want her in his life, that is his choice and none of you have a right to pressure him. Not the a-hole. She sabotaged her relationship with her son in favor of a relationship with her new husband, and cut her son out for 5 freaking years. Literally kicked him out of the house with no place to stay. If I was Sam, I would be pretty damn bitter about it. You can't just welcome her back with arms wide open after that. At that point, you're used to a life without any parents in it. Exactly. What OP's mother did to Sam was essentially a deep betrayal, and at some point, you live with what you did because you can't make amends. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pretend to be a happy family? I, 15 female, and my brother, 13 male, are really close. Our parents split up 4 years ago and it's been kind of hell. Our mom met a guy, Jay, who has 3 kids, and it progressed pretty fast. They moved in with us 6 months ago, yes, in the middle of a pandemic, despite my brother being immune compromised. Our dad is trying to use this as leverage to get custody, but it's going slow. Anyway, his kids are kind of awful. We had to fight tooth and nail to not be put in a room with them, me with his daughter, and my brother with his 2 sons. Thankfully, Jay decided my brother was too unpredictable, and didn't want him sharing a room with his precious boys. My brother and I now share my room. All 3 of them, 16 male, 12 female and 9 male, are brats. They will throw themselves on the floor with tantrums when they don't get their own way. We hate them, they hate us, so no hard feelings. Honestly, this would all be fine if we could just go live with our dad. Recently, they've been trying to push the perfect family dynamic, and my brother and I have not made it easy for them. Every time my stepdad mentions having 2 daughters, I will loudly say, "No, you're not my freaking dad," which generally pisses them off. My brother has started doing it too. Occasionally, my mom will mention my sister, at which point, I completely ignore her because I don't have a sister. It's causing a huge rift, and my mom is fighting with Jay a lot more over us. I don't think I'm really in the wrong. I have 1 brother, and Jay is not my dad. My dad thinks we should tone it down, but I don't see the point. My mom isn't going to let him have custody, and she kind of seems at her breaking point with us. She'll either give us up, or do something that could be used as evidence against her. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole for not wanting to play happy family. Jay and his family were your mother's choice, not yours. You can't force yourself to feel something that you just don't. However, your father may be right about toning it down for now, maybe drop the profanity. Otherwise, you're fine. That's fair. Mom and stepdaughter dislike the not my father part, and that is the plain truth. Nobody could blame you for saying the truth. Not the a-hole and not wanting to be forced into a family dynamic that you don't want to be part of. I do agree with your dad, that you need to tone it down. You are still young to be developing this resentment/anger, and I'm sure your dad is just looking out for you by saying to tone it down. I know he is, but it feels like I'm letting them win, you know? Not the a-hole, they can't force you to be happy family as you clearly are not. And I do understand why you want to keep going like that. My mom isn't gonna let him have custody, and she kind of seems at her breaking point with us. She'll either give us up, or do something that could be used as evidence against her. But as far as I understand, you can give a statement where you can state that you would prefer to go live with your dad, and the reasons. So till then, you don't have to play nice, but maybe try not to make life harder for the 2 of you during the remaining time. We have, but because our dad is on the poorer side, he is never granted custody. It sucks, and I hope we can be put with him soon. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to stop being around my nephews, because it makes my sister-in-law uncomfortable?" I'm 29, and 2 years ago, I lost my twin brother, Roy, after he suffered a head injury. My brother left behind 2 boys, my nephews. Brandon, who was 9 at the time, and my youngest nephew Chase, who was only 4. My mom helped out a lot after Roy passed, and I unfortunately wasn't able to be around the first year because I was working out of the country. When I got back, I got more involved with the boys and helped my sister-in-law out when I could. Picking them up from school, and watching them for a few hours after, taking them out sometimes on the weekend. You know, being the fun uncle. There have been a few times recently where my sister-in-law would accidentally call me Roy, and it made her emotional. Now, it's like she avoids me if we're alone, and is very short with me. Since quarantine, my sister-in-law leaves the kids at my mom's house during the day while she works, and I always stop by for a few hours. Last time I was there, I played with Brandon on his PS4. When sister-in-law got there and saw us, she asked if we could speak in private, where she told me my presence has made things harder on her, because all she can see is Roy. It confuses her, and makes her uncomfortable. Me playing with my nephews and being involved doesn't make it any better, and she asked me to stop spending time at my mom's house for a while, or be around them at their place. That hurt if I'm being honest. I told her if she doesn't want me at her house, then that's fine. But she can't demand I not come over to my mom's, just because my nephews are there and there's a chance she'll see me. This made her upset and they left shortly after. I told my mom about this, and she said I have to understand that sister-in-law's still grieving, so seeing me doesn't make it any easier because me and Roy are identical. I just don't think it's fair to ask me to distance myself from them over this. Brandon texted me all weekend, asking why I hadn't come over, because we usually play basketball Saturday mornings. Today, I did come over to my mom's, and the second sister-in-law came to pick them up, She got really cold with me. She got angry when Brandon asked if I could come over this weekend and told him no. Brandon was mad about it when they left. Afterwards, my mom said that maybe I should just follow her wishes and keep my distance from the boys. Which again, I don't see how that's fair to them or me. It upset Brandon that I didn't spend any time with him this weekend, and it makes me sad that I can't see the boys just because I look like my brother. I understand grief does things to people, and I get her pain. I lost my twin brother, I see him every time I look at myself. So in a way, I understand that pain. So am I the a-hole for continuing to be around them despite the way it makes her feel? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mother is dropping the ball on this one. The obvious solution is for your mother to tell sister-in-law when you are over, and then ask you to step into another room while she picks up the kids. This allows everyone to continue their relationships, and your sister-in-law has the space to not see her dead husband. Yeah, why should OP and his nephews be punished for sister-in-law's issue? They're grieving too, and want to spend time together. This reminds me of posts like this one, where the surviving twin is harassed for attending their twin's funeral, because it's inappropriate. People are just weird with twins. It's like they can never be treated as their own separate self, even after one of them passes on. No a-holes here. I'm sorry for your loss. You're all still grieving. Ultimately, your sister-in-law is their mom, so you should respect her wishes. I think you need to talk with your sister-in-law about a way you can be there for the boys, in a way that makes everyone comfortable. Maybe it's when she's not present? Maybe you check in every 6 months to see where she's at with letting you see the boys. Right now though, her actions are hurting her boys by making them feel abandoned. That's the part that needs to be fixed. While I agree with most of what you're saying, I think it's unfair to OP and the kids to not have OP around anymore. They lost their dad and that can't have been easy. Now they'd be losing their uncle too? Even if it is for a little while. I think the best compromise right now is that the sister-in-law can message when she's on her way to OP's mother's house or when she's outside, so that he can go into another room. That way, she doesn't have to see him, but OP can still spend time with his nephews. Also, it sounds like the kids are at the OP's mother's house every day. Which means he wouldn't be able to see their mother anymore, which is also unfair. No a-holes here, this situation sucks for everyone, sorry for your loss. But the solution she gave doesn't sound very practical. Could she be warned ahead of time if you're around, so she can avoid you while you're hanging out with the boys? Maybe she can't be around you for the foreseeable future, but it doesn't mean you can ever see your mom or the boys again. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for swapping babysitting with my brother, but not my stepsister? I, 26 female, have a brother Mark, 28 male, and a stepsister Emily, 27 female. Mark and I have always been close, while there is about 15-ish years of issues with Emily from childhood, and a little after. Mark and I lost our dad while Emily had both her parents, and would gloat about it when we were kids. None of us were super happy when we became a blended family. Mark and I were grieving our dad's loss, and Emily was grieving her parents' marriage and nuclear family, and she used the fact that she was only there every other weekend, to tease us. Because we had to deal with living full-time with our step-parent, while she didn't have to see hers very much, and she could say our mom wasn't her mom, but eventually we would have to call her dad our dad. It was messy. My mom and stepdad did try their best to nip it in the bud. They also tried to make it feel like him being our dad wasn't a bad thing. But we never did get there with him. The issues with Emily continued until 4-ish years ago, when she moved out of state, and we just stopped having anything to do with her and vice versa. It broke my mom and stepdad's hearts, because they had hoped time would make us feel more like a family, where family therapy and attempts to bond had failed. But it didn't. Now I have a son and my brother Mark has 2 daughters. We swap babysitting pretty often. During COVID especially. Because when my husband and I were working, he wasn't, and when he and my sister-in-law were working, I wasn't. And it felt good to have each other, because we were all following the rules. Back in July, Emily moved back into the state and close to her dad, because she was a struggling single mom who had lost a lot. She asked Mark and me about joining the babysitting swaps, and said it would be good for the cousins to know each other. Mark told her that it's a sibling exchange, and since she's not his sibling, he wouldn't be doing it. She called him an A, and said he was being unfair, and that he should want to be an uncle. His reply was simply, he already was, to my son. She asked me what I thought, and I said we were effectively strangers again, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. She called us both jerks, and said this was why she didn't like us growing up. She then went and told her dad that we were excluding her, and that's why she cut us off. He confronted us, and I pointed out that we excluded her because she would taunt us, and why would we want to hang out as kids with someone who thought it was so funny that our dad died? He said we should all put this stuff in the past, and move on as siblings. Mark said we're not siblings and never were. I only feel guilty, because I know she doesn't have anyone else. My mom and stepdad both work full-time and can't babysit. But at the same time, I don't see her and her child as family. And I think that ship has sailed given the history and years of no contact, for her to come back and get annoyed when we don't want to babysit for her right away. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. I don't see her and her child as family, and I think that ship has sailed. It's all right there. Not the a-hole. Mark told her that it's a sibling exchange, and since she's not his sibling, he wouldn't be doing it. He cut to the chase and gave her the most direct, no-nonsense response. Love it. Went straight for the kill. Not the a-hole. She made it clear she didn't want to be your sister, and only wants to now because she'd get something out of it. Stick to your guns. She made her bed, she can lie in it. How much do you want to bet that when it's her turn to watch the kiddos, she would find some excuse to get out of it? Not the a-hole. I hate the, well, we're, sort of, family, so whatever happened should be forgotten fallacy. She's been an a-hole all your life, and now that she needs you, it should all be forgotten and forgiven? Without an apology, might I add. If you feel like it, obviously you could try and use her situation to see if you can grow closer, but that's up to you, and perfectly understandable if you don't want to. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone.